Hello, everyone. Let's give it a couple of seconds for everyone to connect to the audio. Okay. All right. So thank you for joining in. We are, as always, doing the XAFers community stand-up. Today we will be discussing about ObjectSpace and basically what new features the 22.2 version has. And it has a lot of great things. And also cover a little bit about breaking changes and documentation updates and so on. We would like to start with ObjectSpace because the documentation on the ObjectSpace has improved greatly. And let me admit a couple more people on the waiting room. And I was reviewing the documentation and I was actually surprised of the improvement that it has gone through. I remember when I started, and Jose can remember when he started, it was actually the support center was the only documentation on the questions that you did. And right now it's great. Let's give a couple seconds to everyone that is joining in finally arrive, and then we can get this party started. All right. I think that everyone that is on the meeting, we already know, so I'm always happy to see you guys here. So we're not gonna do no introduction. Everyone knows who Jose is. So Jose, let's start talking about the ObjectSpace documentation. I think that this will be the first, I don't know, 15 minutes, but I think that is important to mention because if you see here, the documentation is really nice. Right now, you can see that, of course, for everyone that is watching for the first time, ObjectSpace is the interface that we're using to access our database on SAF that is independent of any ORM. It doesn't matter if you're using XPO, Entity Framework Core, or you're using like Jose did an experiment with Mongo. So it doesn't matter. You are going to use the ObjectSpace to do all your CRUD operation in your application. If you see here, there is a nice chart where you see that the ObjectSpace interface, then you have the base ObjectSpace class, that the composite ObjectSpace inherit, and all the ObjectSpaces you have there, the XPO, the non-persistent if you are dealing with data that is not bound to any data storage, the Entity Framework ObjectSpace, and the Entity Framework Core. And you can see here the analogy about, for example, in XPO, you have the session, and Entity Framework Core, you have the DB context, and then you have a little more steps, a little more guidance on how to deal with the ObjectSpace. The great thing here, and we're going to talk about this create, read, and delete data article, is that right here you start seeing how do you get your ObjectSpace in any of the scenarios that you have. And Jose, I remember one of the first classes that you gave to me, like when I contact you, remember the first time that I contact you, so I can get some training, it was about reusable modes. But the second one was a complete in-depth ObjectSpace, next ObjectSpace, unit of core session. I remember all of those. This didn't exist in that moment at all. And right now you see that tell you, hey, how do you get a existing ObjectSpace? Where those ObjectSpaces exist? It's on the controller, it's on the view. Where you see this is really detailed. You see they're telling you here that the ObjectSpace is automatically assigned to a view. So you will have this property of view ObjectSpace that you want to be used every time that you are in a view controller, every time that you're using a view. But if you're in a Windows controller, because the Windows controller doesn't expose a view, you're going to use the frame, and the frame will have a view, and the view will have the ObjectSpace. But look at this, how beautiful this is. Now, they are even telling you, but if you're going to create a new list view, a new detail view, don't use the ObjectSpace that is already assigned to the view. Create your new ObjectSpace that is not bound to the current view instead of using that one. So it's actually like really straightforward there, and all the examples have been updated to this. And then now this is for XPO, and in XPO you don't need an ObjectSpace inside a persistent class, because if we know the XPO has the session on the constructor that you can use to load objects from the database and so on. But if you're using Entity Framework, you will have to implement the ObjectSpace link. And I actually emailed Dennis, and I told him, hey, why don't we have a base class like in XPO that already implement the ObjectSpace link, the ISAF entity object, the iNotify property chain? And he told me, hey, don't worry about it. That's coming in 22.2, and that's already here. So you can implement this interface, and then you will have access to the object space. And especially if you are using the XAF entity object, you will have the on-created, on-loading, on-saving that are analog to the after construction, on-saving, and so on the XPO part. Then we have the
To be honest, Javier, those are helpful if you are creating a new application. No, sorry, if you are reusing a new ORM, because the base class, you might only use it on new applications because you have not created your objects, right? So, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry that I cut you off.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. So then we have the non-persistent. Non-persistent also has, you can implement the IOJ space link if you need, and you will have it there. And then we can, non-persistent is a complete topic. Like if you are dealing non-persistent with persistent object, then you add the extra object space to the additional object space and so on. But where else do we have the object space? It's pretty much all across the application. You can have it in your business object if you are entity framework, or the session if you are XPO. You can have it in the controller through the view. You can have it in the Windows controller through the frame.view, and you can have it on the updater as well. So in the updater, you will have an instance of the object space that you can use to supply new data when you are loading your application for the first time. Also, if you're creating a custom list editor, or if you're creating a custom property editor, you can implement the iComplex list editor or the iComplex view item. And with those ones, you will be able to, in the setup, also pass the application, create your space, and so on. Same thing with the complex view item. You will have here the object space and the application. And then you can do any data loading or any CRUD operation that you need. And then you have bless you. You have other places, like you have the application create custom collection source. You have the, so in all those events, you will have an argument that is the object space. Besides that, everything is as we are used to. One of the best practices is to pass the type on the, let me mute, the type on the, when you're creating the object space, is a good as an argument to pass the type of the business class. That way, SAF knows exactly what is the type of object space that it needs to send back, because sometimes it doesn't get it right. You know, like we're dealing with non-persistent object spaces, we're dealing with the persistent object spaces, and sometimes you're trying to create an object space and return the wrong one. So it's good practice to be specific about what is the type of object space that you want. And of course, in the new object space, you should not be creating in a business object, you should not be creating a object space. That's a place where you should not be having, because of the separation of concern, knowledge about the view, knowledge about the anything else. And of course, now with the web API and all the other new things that are coming, you sometimes don't want to instantiate the whole SAF application to create an object space. That's why the iObject space factory is created, and also we have the non-secure object space factory, so we're not dealing with authentication. And you know that we're moving away from the value manager and every static, so we're trying to do things as light as possible to improve performance. So in some other cases, when you are dealing with a little bit outside of SAF, you can also instantiate object space provider manually and call the create object space, and you're good to go. We have seen that. Jose has showed that several times in actually here in the meetups. So just one article, Jose, and I think that it has basically compressed everything we need to know about the object space.
Yeah, to be honest, Javier, it's like a lot of things that you see in there. You actually kind of know them from practice, but it's better to see them in one place. You mentioned at the beginning something that I always do, but takes me a while to figure it out: how you create an object space from window controller that you don't have the view there. So you have to go through the frame, and in the end you figure it out. But it's good to have it all in one place, right? Like it just makes sense. If you are having troubles accessing the object space, go and see this article.
Yeah.
All the answers are there. If they are not there, maybe you're doing something wrong. That's my 2 cents there.
Now, let me add a few more things. Now let's come back to this one. In this one, they are telling you, okay, we can use the object space to create, read, delete, and update data. And now, if you are a beginner, you say, okay, I want to see how to create a new object, how to load a new object, how to save an object, how to delete an object, and then we go to the more advanced scenario. But these 4 that are the main ones. If you click on them for someone that is starting, you have right here, okay, what is the API that I have to use? Create object generic. What else could I need? Okay, if this object is new, and commit changes. If you see, that's it. You have right away, really to the point, what is the API that you have to use and how do you use it. You want to load an object? Okay, let's see it. Let's see the API. Okay, you have find object. We have this first source default that it didn't use in a couple versions back that we can actually pass a lambda. And actually with this and the criteria operator from lambda, we're moving away for pretty much all the XPO criteria, because right now we can use a strongly type. We can have the get object by key. So we have here exactly what we need to load object. And of course, an example below that you can take a look and see. So the documentation is getting to the point. How to save an object. Okay, we can see it. Useful API. And of course, it's going to be commit change it and any other property that you need is object to save, get object to save, the remove from modify objects, the modify object collection. So this documentation is, in my opinion, and I used to remember that I had also the PDF of all documentation from staff, and I used to have a tablet and read it. And right now that PDF, I think that it has increased like I don't know, like a lot of pages.
To be honest, it's not like this is something new, because this information was when you, in the class information. But right now they group it by topic, like how to save. Okay, this is all related to save, everything that is related to save, everything that is related to create, everything that is related to read. How do I get an object space? Before, if you used to see the class definitions, the class like documentation, those methods were documented in there. But in here you see like more practical usage, I guess. For me, it's like, this is like the difference between a unit testing and an integration testing. In unit testing, you take the method, you don't care about any of the context. You just say this method should do this and that's it. But this is like, they put you in context. It's like, you need to create objects, do this. You need to delete objects, do that. So it's not something that is truly new, but how they are presenting the information is what is new.
Yeah, and there is a comment about Jean-Paul saying that we're missing the how to say from start from and arrange to get objects. And yeah, I agree, but I think that we can also do that with the lambda and say, I want this condition from here to here or something like that.
I want the second page of data.
Okay, so we wanted to do at least this first 15 minutes just going about the documentation of ObjectSpaces, because I do believe that it has improved greatly. It has all the examples there, really nice. I went soon because like when you have been for so long like us, sometimes we forget to come back to documentation and read it again. We think that we already know how to do it, and then you come back and say, hey, this is getting nice. Now we can send here because we send all our new developers to all our own training, but I think that they need to also come back and read all the documentation from the Developer Express.
And we need to update our training also in that case.
That's true. Okay, so now let's come back to the main topic of today, that is 22.2. A lot of great things in 20.2. I don't remember one version of Developer Express that has been more expected than this. Everyone was like, when inline edit is coming, when master detail from Blazor is coming, when the collapsible layout is coming. And of course, we still have a few more things that we want here, but I think that the state that we are now in 20.2 is really nice. So we're going to cover all of them quickly. Just scroll down the documentation just to see. We're going to go and check a few of the breaking changes, and then we're going to stray as always to Visual Studio, and Jorge will show in the code a few of these things in action, so we can actually see it. So basically, between the new things that are included in 22.2, the new size. So right now you have the compact and the standard, but if we go and check the sizes, you can see here the components that support the sizes, so you know what is going to be resized accordingly. The button, the editors, the grid. You can see here quick screenshot of all those sizing places, and that you can actually have that by default in your application just with the compact and size. So there is a little bit of improvement there. DX Grill Decider, of course, we know that already have the export, so we were waiting for that for a long time. The export still have an issue that is only on client mode. You can enable in server, but they were actually, there was a ticket that they were kind of like saying, do it with caution, but we can export to Excel now. That's one of the big things that people were waiting. Finally, we have the master detail. You have the list view and the detail view right there. The only thing that we thought that it was going to come out of the box is that the splitter was going to be able to move it right away, but we couldn't. I think that that's coming soon, but we also can do a controller and we can see the documentation. Let's see. In the Blazor part, we have, let me see. Blazor, let's see. Right here. You have a controller where you can actually decide what will be the split size. So you say, okay, I want it here, a little bit to the left, a little to the right. It's still not like we are used to in Windows and web that we can actually move, but I think that it's enough for now. I don't think that we need to do anything else with that controller. We can control everything. The layout tab, this is for performance. We're gonna do lazy loading, so we don't have to render the tab that is not displayed yet. Multiple column in lookup property editor. This is one of the first customization that we did manually just to be able to show more than one column in lookup. Collapsible layout. This is beautiful. This SAF every time is looking more and more modern. The inline, that everything was like, I need this, I know this is really useful, so we got it as well. All the image on our navigation, and also the ability to filter and to search right away in accordion control. .NET 7 support. This is a little bit about validation for the navigation permission. The support for 2022 on SQL Server and all the others engines. Entity Framework Core support. This is really nice. Now we don't have to do any more of the iNotify property chain. We have a base class for Entity Framework, and look, all of this code. Now it's this. That's it. And Jose will show in the main demo how simple the classes look now. I want to actually, now that we're talking about the framework, suggest everyone to read the support tickets that Jean-Paul has from Entity Framework. They are really nice, and they're going to talk about soft delete, concurrency, and a lot of great things. So thank you, Jean-Paul. And basically, now Entity Framework, if you see, is being recommended by default. And still not in love, but I understand. And honestly, I think that Entity Framework is grown a long time. Still, we'll always choose XVO for now. And again, we already talked about the new class that already implement the Azure Space Link, the Entity Framework, the ISAF Entity Object, and a lot of new things for the web API. Now we have file data, we have reports, we have the audit trail attachment. If you see the list grows, validation modules we can have. So the web API is getting better and better and better. So this is just a beauty. And new, we did a meetup only on diagnostic errors. So we have a lot more here. Like for example, like when you don't have a setter, you don't need to put the non-persistent. And I see this a lot, that people put a property that doesn't have a setter, so it's never going to disable on the database. But either way, they put non-persistent. And a lot of new code diagnostic that it will actually help us write better code. And then we go to other platforms. Before we move to the Visual Studio and Jose start showing here, I want to just point out, always is good to see this from our last version for 22.1 to 22.3. There is a decent amount of breaking changes, but mostly it's about support for Entity Framework 6, Net 7 SDK, and the value manager that is being deprecated with all the static helpers. So right now, you see this is one of the main documentation that you are going to be actually using service for your global values, or you can be using for the caption helper or the security system. So you are going to be using the security provider and so on. So this is a really most read of the base approach, but always read the breaking changes before you update your application, especially if it's in production. When it's in development, sometimes you just swing it. But besides that, that's pretty much it. Jose, I think that it's time to show a few of these features in action, and I'm gonna pass the screen to you.
Okay. Let's see, we have something. That was Jean Paul. So let's see. Okay, so we're going to run the main demo to show you where the changes are actually in the code. And for a long time, I didn't double check this again, but I think now is good. It's a good time, especially because there will be like a break between Christmas and New Year, to update yourself in how SAF and XPO and Entity Framework are working in general. So I will run this and I will show you like little by little, and then show you where is it actually in the code. Okay, so first, let me open any of these ones. And first thing, that this is something that we get asked a lot, that a lot of our customers said that the actions, for example, they are like kind of too big. So now we have a way of rendering in a different way, so we can make them compact, and you see that the screen will shrink a little bit, and also the space between the editors in the detail view. So for that one, you get it kind of for free when you create a new application. There is nothing to do there. And okay, the second one that I'm going to show you is this one, that I was testing this before when the meeting start, which is the master detail view. We have done it also for some customers. Like we did the custom controls and everything to do it this way, but now it's something that comes out of the box. So if you select a record in here, you will see the detail view here. So is basically a lot of people were waiting for this. If you're a fan of this type of views, I mean, for me, what it is surprising is how close they are getting to the web version and Windows version in this case. So to do this is like something that I guess you have done many times. You go to the view, and then you enable the master detail view mode. You can do list view only or master detail view. So after you change this, this is how your screen will look like. So I found this really neat, to be honest. So, okay, the next thing that I want to show you is the inline. This also, we have done a few tricks to do this for some other customers. So there's always this stage when there is a new flavor or a huge change in one of the technologies, that you start filling the spaces, like the gaps, like the functionality that it's not there. You have to recreate that again, and so on and so forth. So this one is, if you go to task, now here you can edit, and you have the inline. So you can edit the text, you have lookups, of course. And this one I like a lot, because you can select something from the dropdown or edit the record, and you will see the detailed view of that one. This one is also really neat, because you don't have to go to the other view to edit the record. Also, I don't know if you have run the application, like the main demo, or you have created demo applications with the new version. But in general, we were talking with Javier that it looks like it renders faster, and that it looks also that it loads faster. So the drawing is faster and the loading of the data is faster. Maybe those are some improvements that come with the framework, some improvements that come with .NET. So, okay. Also, we were talking about what is happening on entity framework side. So for that, here we have a few things to show. So if you see the address object, this looks like super simple, and I kind of like it. To be honest, I'm super used to the flow that you use in XPO, that you use the on change for every small calculation or thing that you want to trigger, and then you have the special setter. But in the end, well, the special setter, what it does is basically it encapsulates some functionality that is like 12 lines that you need to do in every set. So it's a function for that. But in here, this looks like incredibly clean. See, like you don't need the backfill. You can use auto-contained properties. So it looks like super simple. And see also how the collections look like. So in the end, is a really clean implementation. Also in this case, if you see, there is no direct implementation of the ObjectSpace link and XAF entity. You get those through the base object. So if you go here and you see the base object, you see that the base object implements the XAF entity object and the ObjectSpace link. So basically, this code, you get it for free. It's good for using in I guess in a new application. But if you are using your ORM already in some other UI or a service or something, and you want to put a UI, then you might still need to implement the ObjectSpace link and XAF entity. But beside that, I think this is a good starting point for new applications, that you don't need to implement that. There are a few things that are not implemented in XAF for entity framework because they belong more to the entity framework functionality. You can read about those things in the ticket that Jean Paul posted in the support center. For example, you don't have deferred deletion, but deferred deletion doesn't concern, it's not a concern of XAF. It's supposed to be given by the ORM. So XPO, it does provide deferred deletion, but entity framework doesn't. You need to make your own code or your own implementation. So those little things are still missing if you are moving from XPO to entity framework, but it's not related to XAF itself. It's related to entity framework and their design pattern. So let's see. I think that's kind of everything that I want to show. But I have a demo that I want to show you also. So let me, just give me a second to load it. So let's see. My studio is getting shy because I have so many things open. Well, let's see. Yeah, I opened so many things today that I cannot find it in the list. So let's do a quick search for that. Okay, so let me put this in the main screen, and then we can do a little demonstration. So let's see, share screen, this one. Okay, so this is out of the context of what is new on the new release, but it's something that I've been working on lately. And one of the developers from our office actually helped me a little bit. I mean, we have like several implementations of this. What I'm going to show you is this is a proxy provider for XPO. So the idea here is that, okay, so since you have the I data layer in XPO and the I data store, and then between both of them, you create a data access for XPO, it means that you have a space to create special implementations, right? That's how we created the sync framework, for example. And also that's also how we created all the other providers that we did for XPO, like the provider for SAP HANA that we originally released, and then Developer Express create their own official version. And also the encrypted SQLite and all those XPO providers. XPO provider is something that we kind of specialize here in the office. So this XPO provider is called the multi-data store proxy provider, which is a name that Javier might hate because it's super technical. But the idea here is that you can have separate databases using like 10 different databases if you want in your application. And all of them will look to XPO and to XAF like a single database. So this is the provider that we have created, and there is a way to create your own provider, your own data store provider for XAF. So the implementation, I'm not going to talk about that so much. It's not needed, but I want to show you how the ORM end up looking like. So let's see. Let's go to the master. Stash. Okay, let's close all of this. And let's go to the business object. I don't have the original business object in here. Okay, but let's see. Let's find the attribute that we created for that. So this is the special attribute that we have created that is called share object attribute. And if we go and see where it's used on the application is, if you put this, it means that this will be attached to this connection string on the settings. So for example, this will look for the connection string that is named database A, and this table and only this table is going to be created there. Then if we go to a different object, this is in database B, for example. Well, I just have A and B, and everything else that you don't specify any connection, I mean, any database ID, it will go to the normal connection string. So if I show you here the settings, we have everything that you don't specify where it's supposed to live will be living in the main database. Everything else will be in database A or database B. So if we run this, see, start a project. You can use this in normal XPO, in XAF, and Blazor, Win, and Web Forms even. And of course, an error. Yeah, let's close the demo applications. The demo effect. So let me go to the database. I'm going to delete database A, B, and main. And then I will show you how it creates the right tables on the right locations. Okay, let's see what we need to do here. So database A, main, and database B. And here, database, just let's rename this so it makes sense. And I hope it doesn't explode because, you know, demo effect. But this is actually in production already. This is a separate project where we did implementation, and then everything else is on production. And I see some. Yeah, some comments from Jean-Paul about the soft delete of Entity Framework. And again, that's related to Entity Framework itself, not to XAF. This must be creating the databases now. We have so many custom XPO providers in the office that you cannot imagine. We work a lot on that level. And that's, well, I mean, in general, I also sometimes use Entity Framework core. That's why I create the Sync framework for Entity Framework, actually to get to know the ins and out of the design pattern that they have. We were in Mexico with Javier on vacation one time, and then I got stuck in Mexico and I have to take another flight. So while I was waiting, I say, okay, I need to wait all day in the airport. I will get the source code of Entity Framework and write the Sync framework for that. So I wrote it in basically one day in the airport. So let's see. That's how you learn a new technology. You lose your flight and then you get stuck for like 12 hours. And after that, you have a new product. So, okay, let's refresh this. So we have database A, database B, and main. So as you can see in database A, there is only country. Then in database B is cost center. And in main database is everything else. Everything else that is not specified is in that part. So let's see. Let's see if we can find cost center. Oh, we have three cost center in here. So let's go and check the data actually. So you see you have these three here. And if we create a new one, demo stuff. Let's see, let's go here and let's execute this again. So we have here the new cost center. So on how you use this code, everything related stuff is normal. You don't have to do any special query to tell which database you want or anything. The XPO provider will figure it out for you depending on the type association. So if the type has the attribute, like this is should be in database A, it will go there. You don't have to do anything. So it's totally transparent for you. And let's see countries. Let's try to make a country. So we do something that ends up in database B. Here. Of course, El Salvador. I know there are some people from El Salvador watching us. Actually, they work with us. So let's see. My little home country. And see, El Salvador is in database A in this case. So everything else, I don't want to show, like everything else is here. So that's something that I wanted to show you. Also, Javier posted a video yesterday about the criteria editor for the criteria property editor for XAF. So XAF, they do have just a text implementation, and we have the UI for that. But that is already posted in a video we posted yesterday. And that's basically everything that I wanted to show you for today. So today was a short session, but it was the last session of the year. So we want to thank you all, guys, for being with us all year, like in each session. And it was a nice year regarding development. A lot of new things that came on 2022. And we're looking forward for what is coming next year. Especially, I'm looking forward for the entity framework part. And since this is the last meetup of the year, if everyone make me a favor to turn on the cameras, I will take the typical picture that we take for every meetup. I see some familiar faces there. So let's see. Okay, so let's see if we don't have more people. Yep. So smile, everyone. Douglas, I'm watching you. 1, 2, 3. And Javier, and good. We have the picture of the last meeting of the year. So guys, was a pleasure to see you as always. Thanks for being with us again. Keep the good working stuff and see you on 2023. Bye everyone, take care.